Hello everyone, Zelrant here, and for today's video on Umamusume, I thought I'd go ahead and give my review on the game now that we've made it through the first Champions meeting and kind of gotten to that rotational point where we're going to go from training Umas to training Aces to training to running the Champions meeting and just rinse and repeat. Now, I know more content will be coming out and new scenarios and all that, so this is just going to be my review on the game in its current state. And anything negative I kind of have, I will try and mention any quality of life I know that'll be coming out to kind of alleviate us from that. Now, when it comes to me doing my reviews, I'm not one of those people that has a scripted one of story, gameplay, music in each individual category. I'm just an unscripted kind of giving my thoughts overall on kind of the main components of the game as I kind of think of them here. And so yeah, with that, let's just go ahead and get into it. So when it comes to the first part of the game, I kind of like to think about the story. Is one of the big things I really like with like Nikkei and Girls Frontline 2 has been kind of their whole lore and story going along with them. I find this one to be pretty similar in that fact that I actually started watching the anime before this to kind of get my thoughts on the overarching lore and story behind the Umamusume franchise. And overall, I think it's pretty good. There's tons of it in this game. I have not watched all the story. Now, the big ones I have been watching the story will be the events. Nice, simple, contained events on the individual Umas. The very first one kind of just actually followed Season 1 of the anime with Special Week. And we've kind of had a little bit of that. I believe the second one was similar. I've not watched all the anime, but I know Kita-san Black kind of has her own arc in the anime as well. So, overall, pretty good. Not just the events though, you also have individual character stories, which you can watch those as well, kind of a breakdown of their story. You have the main story as well, and then you actually have the story within the career. So there's tons of it in this game for those people that want to play it, just for more story. If you like the anime, then you probably will like this game just for the story itself. I mean, the career mode has tons of it. Now, I have not watched a lot of it. But each individual character has all their little components into the story with different little events and things as they happen as you progress through it. So, a lot to see there. Now, one of the nice things of the story is they do have a skip feature. So, while there are characters attached to it or you want to watch the story, you can skip through them really quickly to get it if you're not one of those big story people in the game. And I've done that with a lot of stuff. May go back to it and watch it in the future, but just to get the carrots, I've used the skip feature to get through a lot of the individual stories. I always use this on the career at this point. I watched the career like one time through like the first Uma I did after I beat the URA. And after that, it's just super fast with the skip feature. So really nice overall on story. So the second part, which is probably the most important part when it comes to, well, I'd consider most important / second most important will be the gacha systems in the game. And so starting with the polling system and the rates, I will say it's not good. It wouldn't be my favorite. Like, I consider probably Nikkei to be one of my favorite systems because it has high rates and you have pretty high rates on most characters in that game. So you're constantly getting SSRs. This one's similar in the fact that you have high rates at 3% rates, but the individual rate ups are much lower at 0.75%. And that's from this point forward. I know in the beginning, Kita-san Black was 0.5%. That was something that they did in the Japanese version, and they got pushback against it, so they raised it for all future ones. And we're basically just following what they did. And so 0.75%, so higher than like your Hoyoverse rates, but lower than you see with a lot of other games, like even Nikkei. Nikkei has 2% rates on their normal characters, and then their pilgrims, it's 1%. And so it is pretty low. So you're going to be pulling a lot of SSRs and not getting your rate ups in this game over the course of it. And that can kind of feel kind of bad, especially when it comes to the support cards, because one of the big reasons you're pulling on the support cards is to actually get dupes of them, as this one is very dupe reliant when it comes to your support cards. Now, I will say the SR cards in this game are very useful, unlike you see with a lot of other gacha games where the SR cards become useless after so much time. This game, if you're free to play, you're going to be living and dying by SRs mostly as you slowly accumulate dupes for your SSRs to eventually start building them into your decks. And so the SRs kind of make up for that. It's why the advice has been in the past, pulling on the Kita-san Black, Super Creek banner, getting as many copies of those cards as you can, but the overarching goal is to get more SR cards to flesh out your deck. That's the same thing here, but it is negative because the pity is 200 pulls, and pretty much if you want to pull on a banner, you want to have those 200 pulls saved up because pity does not carry over. I think that's probably the biggest negative. If they just made pity carry over, it would make it less bad because they do give out a lot of pulls. It's about 100 pulls on average from what I've read per month. And there are big pull events when it comes to half anniversary and anniversaries. We're going to get them thrown at us like crazy, especially as we get farther into the game and closer to the Japanese version. There's just tons of pulls being handed out. And you're going to get tons and tons of SSRs. That's why I like the higher rates, even if the individual pulls are lower rates. Because sometimes you'll get bonus pulls when you lose those 50/50s, or actually they're more like 33/66s. Because if you see like Super Creek pulls, while I had terrible luck on Super Creek, I did get copies of another support card that is very valuable in Fine Motion. And that's the same thing here. When you're pulling for your favorite Uma, potentially, you might get a lot of bonus losses on your way to it of other Umas to flesh out your account in your 3-star Umas. Why I like the higher rates, even if you're going to have lower rates on the main units. But the pity kind of makes it feel bad because you're pretty much forced to save. Now, I will say, once your account is fleshed out on those SR cards, the pressure to pull, at least in my opinion, is pretty low. Like right now, if I was to go completely free to play, I could probably go 6 months to like 9 months without feeling like I have to pull. I have plenty of Umas. My support cards are good. Now, I did whale out, I will say that. But once you are fleshed out with those SRs, you're solid and you're just in saving mode. And this game doesn't have, at least in our first year, any crazy feeling like you must have stuff. And so you can save after you have those to pull what you kind of want. And so I think as a free-to-play, just if you can pick the right banner to go crazy on for your support cards, after that point, you're probably sitting in a spot where you can save. And so overall, I'd say it's just about an average system on the gacha system. The biggest negative, too, also, if you're a spender, is the pulls are very expensive after that initial wave of the beginners packs. It's over $2 a pull. So if you're wanting to be a light spender, once you've run out of those packs, you pretty much don't want to spend anymore until they refresh with like new ones, which they do add new ones about every half anniversary and anniversary, especially as we get farther in the game when they start adding some big selectors to it for you to buy. But after that, I mean, the normal pulls are stupidly expensive. It's $400 to guarantee one thing, if you don't have any crystals saved up for it. So quite pricey in that aspect. So I'd say it's an average system. You can play this game as free to play and be fine. You're just definitely not going to have as much to work with. And so with that, on the other side of things when it comes to gacha, as we know with all gacha games in general, they all have some form of RNG when it comes to building your character. And in this game, you're building your Uma for racing in a champions meeting. And the way to get the better Uma is through the legacy system, or basically your parents and grandparents that go into the Uma that you're building. And this is where I will say, this is probably my #1 favorite RNG system in a gacha game. As frustrating as it can be when you're doing parent runs, it can be frustrating. But it is definitely, I think, my favorite way of implementing an RNG system in a gacha game where you're going to be infinitely grinding. The grind will never end, but it's, I think, a funner grind in the sense that it's an inheritance system. You have tons of skills and you have the sparks. And actually, just to kind of pull it up and just show it with some of my Umas here. So the big thing is, a lot of games like Honkai Star Rail or something, you're farming your relics, you're trying to get that crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and all whatever. In this, you are trying to build your Umas for specific champions meetings as they're coming out, and certain traits or skills that you want to be able to pass on to your main Uma. And so if you want to consider it like a relic or anything, your veterans, once you build them here, your inspirations are basically your RNG. Like, this is your gear in that sense, and that you're using these to build your future racer that you're going to use in the champions meeting. And so after you finish a race, you have the RNG of whatever your main stat is, whatever they're good at, whether it's their track style, distance, or whatever, their ultimate, and then their skills / race sparks. And so there's a lot of complexity to this, so I don't want to go into depth on it. But these, it's your typical inheritance system, like any game that you've probably ever played with any breeding type thing in it, in that you want to try and get as much on here that matches what your future champions meeting, whatever PvP mode you're competing in. Because what these do is make it much easier to build your Uma as you're going through your career. And so, that's the main RNG. There's not much other RNG in there other than the RNG of actually finishing the career and getting the skills on your Uma while building them. And what it makes it so fun is it's just like anything else where you're slowly working on building a better and better parent and grandparents for your main build. Whether it's a game, if one I've always mentioned on stream is like Crusader Kings 3, where you're a king and you're having kids that have different traits, whether they're a genius, beautiful, and all that, and then you're marrying them someone else that has good traits. You're making better ones. And that is really, I really like. I feel like you're always making progress in this game in the sense that you're always making better and better Umas through the inheritance system. It can be frustrating because it's you can have like the perfect career run. You get all the skills you want. You win all the main races you need to win to get the best sparks, which are the traits effectively. And then you get nothing. You get like a 1 star of the worst stat. You don't get the right track type or distance type. And then you get like no white sparks and it's just trash. Those can feel bad. That's just like any RNG system in the game. Any other games that can feel really bad. But getting those really good ones, once you have them, and then you're able to borrow one. That's the nice thing too. Now right now you're only allowed to do 3 borrows a day. In the future, it becomes a lot more. So no, there is quality of life comes there, but you can borrow one. And so someone that has like a god tier parent, you can borrow that one to pair with your okay one to then make a really good one. And so it doesn't take too long to actually get some decent parents and grandparents in this game overall. And I've seen plenty of people who are free to play that have a lot better stuff than I have because you have plenty of time to do it. The biggest negative I'll say of this system is probably what kind of makes it not for everybody is how long a career can take. Take about 20 minutes if you push through it quite fast. And so for dailies, because it's something you probably want to do daily since you're borrowing, it takes a lot of time. So you can say it's about an hour of your time per day for dailies in this game if you're trying to min-max in that aspect. So just know that that's kind of the negative is how long it takes. But I like the RNG system. It's not for everybody though. If you're not someone that's into those inheritance games of trying to pass on traits and you'd rather just be able to just grind and get pieces of gear and get random stats on them, this isn't the game for you. It's definitely going to not cater to you in that aspect because that's what you're always grinding towards is getting better and better parents and grandparents. And they do add a lot of quality of life. This is one thing that we don't have yet, but I do know gets added in the future is a lot of quality of life to this so that you can like re-roll. So you get your skills and all that. They're great. But man, the stars on them are terrible. They do give ability to re-roll, adding stars to them, different little things. A lot of quality of life gets added to it to make it better and better over time. So whilst it is a struggle right now, it does get better. For anyone that is wondering on that. So that's the main gacha system there, and I think that's mostly that. And so the last thing I'd like to talk about is the PvP mode, which is Champions Meeting. There's the 2 modes. Well, you have teams, you have the normal team trials, and then you have Champions Meeting. Team trials is, to me, nothing too crazy. It's build your Umas, get them in there, and then you get a bunch of, it's this currency RP up at the top. You use that to do your team trial runs. It's a little bit different in that you're building your Umas for getting as many points as possible. While winning is important because it gives you a lot of points for wins, using skills and stuff in that is important as well to get more points from using the skills. So it's kind of a unique little PvP mode there that you're constantly working on. I have not focused on it too much because I focus more on Champions Meeting. But you get a little bit of currency and friendship points on that every week, depending on where you stand in it. And so that one's overall okay. It can get to little, you can do it a lot. You get a ton of runs on this. So it's a nice little way to build your affinity up with your Umas. You get a little bit of currency and other stuff in there, but nothing too crazy. The bigger PvP mode, and the one that I really like, is Champions Meeting. And I think it's one of my favorite PvP modes in a gacha game as well. So one of the things, if anyone watched me doing Champions Meeting in the last one, you know I did end up losing in the finals on it. But I think that kind of shows for a lot of people that are wondering if it's nothing but a whale wars in there. It is not. Now, I didn't have the best Uma because I didn't really have the best parents and grandparents in it, but I had a fairly competent one. And I got paired up with definitely free-to-play / they didn't have very good support card builds. And they both beat me. I was in third place of those two. So most likely free-to-play or light spenders ended up winning that first Champions... Well, one of them ended up winning that first Champions Meeting against me, even though I spent quite a bit of money. I think if someone is willing to put in time into this game and just build the regular stats needed to compete in the Champions Meeting, I think you have the chance of winning, especially once we get to the lower distance ones. Right now, that one was medium. Now we're doing long. Those have more strict stat requirements versus mile and sprint. But there's enough RNG in it that if you build the proper Uma with the right stats, close enough to the right skills, and that you can win, and you most likely will make it to the finals. And that was a clear example of I got paired up with ones that didn't even have the right distance at S. They didn't have the right skills. They were terribly built, but they got lucky on the RNG and ended up winning the whole thing. Now, one of the big negatives that apparently does get corrected, because this is how it worked in the Japanese version, is only first place got the titles on that first one. Second and third place did not get anything on this one, but from what I understand, that was a bug in the Japanese version. I guess they want us to follow them exactly. So we got nothing other than our carrots from it. But going into future ones, you do get titles depending on your place. So if you get the grade A finals, second place, you get gold through bronze. Third place gets silver through bronze, and then grade B is kind of just one step below. So there is, if you're one of those people who likes to chase achievements and titles and that, you can do that even as a free-to-play. It is completely possible. It is fun. That's kind of the mode of building this game. You're slowly working on building your Uma for the Champions Meeting. Then you run the Champions Meeting, which is quite a bit of fun. And then after that, you start over for the next one. And that's kind of the life cycle of the game. Overall, pretty fun. It can be a little frustrating depending on the one you're building for. I think right now, Gemini is probably the most frustrating for most people, as it has the harshest stat requirements, just because you need so much stamina just to be able to have them make it through the race. But for on the shorter ones, not going to be a problem at all, and it's going to come more down to RNG than anything else, and it is going to be very competitive even for your free-to-plays in those. So overall, that's my thoughts on the PvP, and that kind of pretty much covers everything on the game. I thought I'd just kind of give my quick thoughts overall for people wondering. Definitely a great game, and I was originally I would say incorrect, in that this game has a lot for your free-to-plays. It has a lot for your light spenders and your heavier spenders. I think the only one, when it comes to spending on this game, that it's not really good for are your medium spenders, because you don't get much at all once you run out of those beginners packages, and unless you're willing to go up to $400 pretty much, yeah, it gets too expensive too quickly to really be a medium spender. You either want to be light or heavy. But other than that, it's completely fine on that side. But yeah, that's just kind of my thoughts and my overall review of the game. Like I said, very unscripted. I don't like to give the numbers and breakdown like a lot of other people do. I just thought I'd kind of do a quick rundown now that Champions Meeting was done. If I did have to give it a number overall on a gacha, I'd probably say an 8 out of 10. Definitely one of the best gacha games I have played since I've come back to playing them again a few years ago. And so if you're willing to try it, it is definitely a fun game. You can play it very casually. Don't feel like you have to do Champions Meeting. You can just do it for the story in the career mode as new modes come out and have fun with that. You don't even need really good support cards to do the career. You want to just be one of those people that plays the career, build slightly better Umas and not even worry about Champions mode. Easily can do that in the game. And it won't actually take a lot of your time up either because you don't have to feel like min-maxing when you're doing that either. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I thought I'd just kind of give my thoughts. And yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on the game and whether or not, how much you're liking it. But yeah, if you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.